Welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you. I'm being less enthused on the intro just because it is, 1:30 in the morning. I feel bad being super loud doing talk shows in the household while everybody else is sleeping. But we just got done. UFC 318 comes to conclusion. Max Blessed Holloway is able to defend the BMF championship. First man to ever do that. And he beats Dustin Poirier in his retirement fight with a unanimous decision. He won 49-46 on two cards, 48-47. I had him 3-2. Tremendous fight. It killed me. It was I had not only because I bet on Dustin Poirier, but I'm a huge Dustin Poirier fan. I felt that way also watching Manny Pacquiao, and I'm just like, please, but I can't unsee what my eyes see. And when, I don't do that when I'm gambling. I'm like, look, when I think, and I thought Max Holloway earned it. I thought that he was just getting those the better of Dustin, and then of course you had the last 10 seconds there, and Dustin cracked him with a big right hand, and Holloway just kept coming with more combinations to the point where Dustin, he wasn't about to become a Gaethje meme in his final fight, and so they clinched. I think that was almost a sign like, all right, his round, he gets it done. But this fight, I mean, especially the first two rounds, whoa. I mean, it was fighting drugs. It was unbelievable. Max Holloway with an absolute hammer on Dustin Poirier, hurts him early. Dustin Poirier is able to weather the storm. He's got some. He's scrambling on the ground. He's throwing some up kicks. He's able to get through it, and you're just like, yeesh. Hey, to everybody, who said Max Holloway was filled out better at 155, that he was going to be more trouble. Definitely, he was trouble, dude. He looked fast. He looked strong. The amount of this is a guy he's been so good with the hands his entire career, but the amount of improvement he's gotten with his kicks and how versatile he's gotten is just it's so impressive. And I know that you got a guy who's not exactly gonna be elusive in front of you with that, Dustin Poirier, but it is just an extra element. And I think the thing that's always made Max special is his volume and his accuracy, but also just the variety that he comes at these guys with. And it's just so impressive. And so he gets to wrap up the trilogy. Dustin doesn't exactly get the storybook ending. I don't think anybody in that crowd really cared by the end of it because it was Goosey's galore. You had the walkout there in Louisiana, New Orleans, something he's been wanting for a long time. I was, a couple years ago when he was able to get the fight down here in South Florida to see the reception that he got. It was, that was a crazy thing because that was an interesting night because it was Sean O'Malley against Chito Vera, and I think everybody was under the assumption, Sean O'Malley's gonna get he's the biggest star in the UFC now, right? He's the champ. And two things really stood out. One is that Chito Vera actually had more of the crowd than Sean O'Malley did because of all the Ecuadorians who came there. And two, the biggest star in the building that night truly was Dustin Poirier. And to see this guy's star rise, has truly been something special. It's been a cool thing to see as somebody, who has watched his career, love, his boxing trainer, Daya Davis, to death. I mean, to see what Daya has been able to do from the time when, he's working at American Top Team, which, he still does with some, but to open up his own gym in Boca Raton and to see how that's grown. I remember when that thing was half the size of it was. And I just think it's kind of reminiscent of the whole story to see all of this stuff just grow so organically is really, really cool. And, you just like to see in a sport that takes so much from these guys, and so many guys are so either talented and they don't get the break, or they don't get the right representation, or there's politics, or once they lose, nobody gives a rat's ass about them anymore. To see a guy who will finish his career, with 10 losses, but has delivered so much memorable entertainment. And even though he never got to get the undisputed championship, though, yeah, I understand the arguments of, when he won his interim title, he did it against Max. I remember talking to Masvidal after that happened. He goes, you don't think that should be looked upon as a real championship to beat Max Holloway? Mind you, this is Max Holloway, but Max Holloway is Max Holloway, the greatest featherweight on the planet. This was before, I believe this was before the Volkanovski stuff. Maybe I'm getting my timelines a little confused right now. It is 1:37 in the morning, but Masvidal, who's obviously been with him for a long time at American Top Team, was like, you don't think that's like the same as a real championship? Beating that guy, it was such a big thing. It was before the trilogy, by the way. Yeah, he moved up after beating Brian Ortega, and he had defended the featherweight title a couple of times after beating Aldo. Beat Aldo a couple times, and then he fought Poirier. So, yeah, this is a guy who was 20-3 in his career. One of those losses was to Dustin Poirier. But, yeah, never had it wiped of the undisputed title on there. The guy's a bona fide Hall of Famer and an absolute legend. In this fight tonight, round one happens. Max drops him. Dustin's able to survive. And then round two, Max drops him again with a big right hand. And, it looks like this is going to be trouble. And then late in the round, Dustin Poirier responds. He very much hurts Max Holloway. And just true to himself, because he's one of the coolest dudes and maybe not wise, but just is there to just prove a point. He tries to jump the guillotine and doesn't work out, but he does end up on top of Max Holloway and bludgeons him with a big elbow. And if the round was a little bit longer, and it was so loud, you couldn't even hear the horn. I can't even imagine what it was like being in that building for that. If that was a little bit longer, who knows? Who knows if he's able to finish it off. So in my mind, I think a lot of people gave that round, and the judges, going 4-1. I think a lot of people gave that round to Max, but I thought that should have been a Dustin round, because you go knockdown for knockdown, you finish the round on top. Like, I got to give the edge to Dustin there. And then same thing happened in round 3, where it was like just super close. Like, they're exchanging. Max is probably hitting more with the kicks. He had a nice combination in the middle of the round, but like Poirier just so strong with the jab. He has this big left late, and I just was like, all right, that one goes to Dustin. And then round 4 happens, and then Max starts picking it up again. And I'm looking, I'm like, yeah, this is like super close, but Max was really getting into his flow with his combinations. I was like, and the edge was just, I'm like, I think you got to give that one to Max. So in my mind, it's 2-2 going into the final round. But I thought that in round 5, I thought Max kind of put all down behind. Like, Dustin had his moments. He never got blown out in a round, but it just felt like Max just had a little bit more every single time. So I thought it was 3-2 Max, but I understand why people would have scored. I thought the only one that was a pretty clear Poirier round was 3, and 2 is a coin toss. So I'm sure you could like finesse your way, like the biggest Dustin Poirier fan could finesse their way. And if you're in that building, maybe you thought that he should have won, but I think they got that right. And man, they play the montage afterwards, and for Max Holloway, first off, what a job by him, because he doesn't really soak it in. Lil Wayne puts the belt around him. Lil Wayne walked out, Dustin Poirier. But he, he's like, this is Dustin's night. But he did mention, he goes, I got history with the champ at 155. And I am interested to see, this 155 division is in an interesting spot with Topuria now being the champion. It's a little reminiscent of where Max Holloway just was with Volkanovski, because not many people can beat this guy, but the guys who currently have wins over him, reign over the featherweight division and the lightweight division. I still think with lightweight, I don't think they're going to give Paddy Pimblett the title shot, I'd imagine, because he's, 2. I mean, he's going to move up probably because Dustin Poirier lost, so I'm sure he'll move up the rankings somewhat. But does Max Holloway need to go and beat Charles Oliveira? He's jumps him, right? Like, Charles just lost, challenge for the belt. He's knocked out Gaethje. So Gaethje, who's like, oh, it's either me or Sarukian. Well, now it's not, because Max Holloway's beaten Dustin Poirier, and he's beaten you for the BMF title. So he jumps Gaethje. So now we're back to this whole Sarukian thing. I don't know why Islam's still in the rankings. It doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. That's kind of stupid. But now you get back to the Sarukian thing. And so, does he have to fight Sarukian to win? Does he fight Paddy? Or does Paddy get to jump the line? Because, they seem to set up the Paddy fight pretty perfectly. If somehow Paddy can win, then you got Paddy versus Holloway. I mean, that's another monster fight. So that's going to be an interesting one. But I would think, Holloway can wait it out if he wants to. I mean, sure, you could do another BMF fight, because him versus Sarukian doesn't ooze BMF, does it? Neither does he versus Paddy. So I guess you could do him versus Dan Hooker if you wanted to BMF it up, and then you just kind of bide time to see what happens with the title fight. But he definitely made a mark today, man. He beat Dustin Poirier. I don't know if that's necessarily a go right to the top, but here, I was sitting here the last pay-per-view and being like, well, just make the Paddy Pimblett is Ilia Topuria fight. It's fun. But, and I mean, Topuria did just knock him out at featherweight. Doesn't the journey, I think for me, as crazy it is to sound, it's almost like Max, I feel like the feel is he needs one more, which probably sounds idiotic with him versus Resume versus Paddy. You're not even talking the same zip code as far as what one guy's done as compared to the other. I'm just talking about feel. And yeah, I mean, Max, if anybody's going to get the do-over at a new weight class, for sure, right? And I'm doing this before, I don't know what Dana's going to say. He's going to do, we'll talk about it Tuesday. What happened to you, dude? Wait till Tuesday. Waste of time. So that's interesting. But anyway, he passes it off to Dustin. They give the montage, which was cool, but his speech, Cormier there, the fans there, taking the gloves off. It was Goosey's galore, dude. It was a moment. It really, really was. So what a career. That dude, really, it was great to see what this guy was able to turn himself into from a guy. It was interesting watching him versus Michael Johnson, who I actually bet on tonight. I bet on the Michael Johnson knockout because it was plus 1,800. And when he got that knockdown in the second round, I was like, oh, I thought I was going to get that one too. But I did not. But I think of, you just think of all these, the Alvarez fight, the first Gaethje, the Pettis, some of these guys that he was beating. The Dan Hooker fight's one of the bananas, that fight, to finally settle in the score with Conor and that really taking him to a next level. It was an incredible career. It was an incredible career that, yes, never got to the top. Every time he got into those championship situations, always got choked out. But he never, it never was without some remnants of oh, here he goes. He's going to take his shot. I kind of always respected that. Never was going to go down without some kind of Hail Mary. And it was either going to work or it was going to end in disaster and he was going to go night-night. So it was incredible performance from him. And an incredible performance from him, incredible performance by Max Holloway, incredible career. And, man, they gave the fight fans a lot. To be fair, I did not watch much of Costa, Kopylov. I did not watch Daniel Rodriguez and Holland because the Pacquiao fight was on. I was watching those guys. I watched the Pitbull Ige fight. I don't think that's going to buy Pitbull a lot of fans in the UFC, but he did look better. And then I watched Michael Johnson, who I've always been a fan of. I got a soft spot for that era. And he's 3 straight wins now. 3 straight wins now for Michael Johnson, the menace, dude. So happy for him. He's won 3 straight fights at 39 years old. That's really, really cool. So he got himself a win tonight. Brendan Allen, Marvin Vettori was a sick fight. That probably was going to be fight of the night before the main event. And then you just had some unbelievable finishes in the early prelims with armbar galore and whatnot. Although nothing was better than that PFL ending today. Like that was, oh my God, that was crazy. I was watching that today and I was like, oh, I felt like Johnny Eblin was going to run out the clock to keep his belt, which I'm still, by the way, very confused by because I still don't understand why he's fighting a Bellator belt or they're introducing him as Bellator. I'm still confused. I thought Bellator was over, but Costello Von Steenis gets reverses a choke and gets Johnny Eblin in a rear naked choke, and with 10 seconds left, the ref he doesn't tap. He's out. And the referee has to call the fight. It was insane. What a day of fights, dude. But congratulations, Dustin Poirier. And man, I had a night watching UFC, watching Manny. Whew, it was fun.